It is show time. We are live, everybody. And, I am really excited about tonight's training for a couple of different reasons. But the main reason is that, the path and the journey that we're all on in this industry we call network marketing. I've said many times, and I've heard many people say that what we have and what type of industry we're in and what we're basically doing is we're a personal development company, a personal developed industry with a compensation plan attached. And the longer you're in the business, the more you realize that. And you see people like Jamie who, whether you're watching this live, whether you're watching this on the replay, whether you're watching it in a day or a week or a year from now, one of the things that you're going to see with Jamie is her enthusiasm and her passion for what she's doing. And she's found a company that she resonates with. She's found a product that she loves. But it's with her, as you'll see soon here, it's about her passion for the opportunity and what it brings to the people that are on her team. And she's passionate about helping people. And I asked Jamie, I don't know how long ago it's been. It seems like a lot longer than it really has been. I said, I've got this group that I'm working with, and it's coming along. There's some members in there, and I've had a couple of people that worked with it, but really nobody kind of take it and run with it. And I'd like for you to do that. And my concern at the time was, for me personally, and this was my red light story, was I don't want to get her distracted from what she's doing. I don't want her to take, if you can't juggle the responsibilities of this group and moving this thing forward at the same time, work with her team and build it, then we'll back up and punt. And I think you and I even talked about that a little bit on the front end. I said, hey, don't get overwhelmed by it, and let's just see where it goes. Well, she's hit the ground running with that, and not only that, but her team and just the inspiration that she brings to everybody within her team. But a comment that Jamie made today, which speaks volumes about the person, the individual, and the leader that she is. When we were talking earlier today, and you hear true leaders say this. Sometimes they say it in their actions, and occasionally they'll speak it in their words, but you always know it before they say it, and you always know it before you hear it. And she said to me today, which she said to me a couple of days ago too, hey, I'm here to help anybody. It doesn't matter if they're on my team or not. I love what I'm doing. I love what we have to offer. And I'm thrilled to be able to give back and to help people, because we, for people like Jamie, and again, I'm going to turn it over to her in just a second, but I always say, and this is true, the final stage of learning is teaching. And what happens is that each and every one of you who work with her and are part of her team and even the surrounding people, what you don't realize is how much you're pouring into her. You think she's out there putting forth all this effort and putting forth all this work and spending all this time, but the reality of it is she is being fed by the enthusiasm and by each and every one of your successes for her, because that's what her passion is. So tonight, the topic is personal development. And Jamie is I can't think of anyone better to bring that message to you than her, because her story, her personal development over the last year and a half is amazing. But let me say this about personal development, and she's going to tell you about it. She's going to talk to you about it, but it didn't just happen in the last year and a half. Your personal development started when you were just a child. And there's stories that go along with that. Every one of us have stories. And we can look at those stories as red light stories, or we can look at those stories as green light stories. To sum it up for you, you can look at those stories as something that's holding you back. And all of us go through those phases and times in our lives. Or you can look at those stories as a stepping stone to help you get to the level you want to be. And when you finally recognize that for what it is, then you end up having the kind of results that Jamie did. So Jamie, I'm going to step away from here and turn the stage over to you. And I'm just
thank you so much,
and share with everybody. And so take it away.
Yes, thank you. So I love this topic, and I absolutely was just like everything Alan was saying. I was just like, yep, 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 right. If you don't realize yet that your personal growth, your personal development, developing as a person from who you are to who you want to be, if you haven't figured out yet that that is how to be successful in this industry, it's time to look into it. Seriously, you cannot grow your business and sustain that without personal growth along the way. And that looks different for everybody. And you might hear this saying, new levels, new devils, and it's the truth. We never stop. We never stop developing ourselves or growing, which we often think of as a negative. It's because there's challenges and there's obstacles and there's things that we need to overcome and get past, and there's painful moments, and we heal and we grow, and it doesn't look like we think it's going to, and it's uncomfortable, and all of this, and we focus on that instead of looking at these moments, these challenges, these pains as opportunities to be at the next level, which whatever that means for you, sometimes the next level is just being in a state of mind, a version of you that handles one aspect of your life just 1% better. And that's really what personal growth is, because what I don't know if you noticed when Alan said personal development, I was like, yeah, because it's such a broad area. But the thing is that it's in everything. So one thing I want to focus on is communication. We get caught up in the words really of like invites and presenting and three ways and things like this, and we get in our heads and we get caught up about those things. But what that really is communication. It's an opportunity for you to learn how to communicate better, what's going to grow and maybe come with a little bit more ease when you communicate better, your business, because this is a business about talking to people, and communication is just one aspect of it, right? So whatever that is for you, whatever the challenge is, wherever you need to develop more personally, it really just starts with a mindset, and with just recognizing that, hey, like Alan said, the red light stories, hey, I'm telling myself a story. Do I want it to be true? Is this story true? Is it something I want to be true? It was true. Does it have to still be true? What can I do to change this? Right? Those things that you're telling yourself. So it's really about recognizing and then flipping that switch on the way that you're thinking about it. And I love that before Alan mentioned about my passion in my team. And that's one of the things that really hit me today when I started thinking about the personal development aspect. Is I'm grateful that my team, whether I introduced them or someone I introduced, that everybody's becoming so close and that they feel comfortable enough to tell me when they're struggling. That's huge. That's huge right there. And then we can talk about how to flip that mindset, right? Because we all struggle in different ways and on different days and things like that. But you need to be able to recognize it so that if maybe you can't figure it out for yourself, that you can ask for help. That's another part of personal development. A lot of people struggle asking for help. Wherever that came from in your life, because it comes from somewhere different for everybody, right? Because we've all experienced different lives. Wherever it comes from, it's happening now, right? So then we recognize that and we say, okay, I can accept this. And this is who I am. Is this serving my life, my business, the people I'm serving? Or can I do better? And personal development really is just a little bit at a time, one area at a time, one focus, one strengthening one perceived weakness, because our perceived weaknesses are truly our strengths. It's just developing those things along the way. I have been in network marketing for 6 years. I didn't have success until this past year. So year 5, I guess, after 5 years. It took a lot of personal growth. And I was telling Alan before this call, I used to cry like I'm telling you, my heart was broken. It was like heart-wrenching to me. And I would cry and I would ask, why doesn't anybody want me to help them? And I'm sure other people here, because a lot of people in this group, on this team, in this company are about service, can relate to that you've probably felt that way at some time, because we want to serve people, we want to help people, right? So if it's not translating, then I really ask you to take a look at this quote, because it flipped my mindset very much. Preach with your life before you preach with your mouth. That really hit me, because I have always had a passion for health and wellness, for, you know, development and things like that. But I really just talked about it. I didn't know that I wasn't experiencing these things myself. And as soon as I took the focus off of everything external and I went in and said, okay, what can I do? How can I grow? That's when things really started to shift. Now, one key thing about personal development is you can learn. You can be on all the podcasts, all the trainings. You can listen to these every week. You can be on the 11 o'clock lives every morning. You can read all the books on business and personal development in the world, but you will personal develop yourself into like a little box unless you are implementing what you're learning. The real part about personal development, the real key to it, the thing that makes it work, the thing that makes personal development is putting it into action, is doing the work. Whatever way that we whatever words we use around it, it's taking responsibility and changing things as they come. When we're worried, ask yourself, why am I worried? When there's an obstacle, is it an obstacle? What can I do? How can I change this? How can I change my mindset to think that it's not an obstacle and it's an opportunity? Just at any point asking ourselves these questions and then doing something about it. You can read your favorite book. Oh, this book blew my mind. It's the best personal development book I've ever read. You guys all have to read it. But if you don't do anything, if you don't take any action and you don't change anything in your life or about yourself or about your business after you've read that stuff, you're not developing personally, right? Like you're not developing your business. And sometimes we don't implement right away. Sometimes we need to be nudged a little bit, by those challenges and obstacles. But what they are opportunities for us to grow. We can name them challenging. We can name them obstacles, struggles, pain. We can name it whatever we want to name it, but it's all an opportunity to just to grow just a little bit. And then as soon as you start to grow yourself, you're able to pay that forward. And that was really my main mission. A lot of people poured into me. A lot of people gave me faith and gave me belief to borrow when I needed it most, at different points in my life, whether it was teachers, coaches for sports, mentors in this business, whatever it is. And I'm grateful for that, because it has put me in a position where now I can pay that forward and I can help other people to better themselves. So if that's something you're passionate about, I promise you it starts with you. And if you feel like you need to develop a part of you, there's so many ways that we can just give time to ourselves. Just take the time and recognize what is it that needs to develop. Pick maybe a hobby that helps you out with it. Get a mentor, get a coach, read a book. And then once you find those books or those mentors or whatever, then go out and implement what you're learning about how to change and how to be the person that is able to handle and look at something as not an obstacle. Because that's really what personal development is. It's getting past all of the stories that we tell ourselves, all those walls we put up, and getting into the action of it. So I think I've really touched on everything that I wanted to touch on personal development. I know that there's so many directions I can go in, but I don't know if I can't see, so I don't know if anybody had questions or if you wanted to comment on anything, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, if they do, if somebody has a question, feel free to type it in the comments, and I'll be glad to ask. You know, one of the things, a couple of things that you talked about, Jamie, you said sometimes self personal development is just 1% at a time. You know, and a lot of times that's when so many people they get their feelings hurt, or they're struggling, or sometimes you go forward 3% and back 2%, and you still gain that
Yep.
1%. You know, you said I've been in this business now for 6 years and really only had success in the past year. What do you think was the difference maker for you in this past year?
I mean, being here where I am with products and company that I believe in, a community that, I resonate with is big, but I didn't find that by accident. I know a lot of people stumble upon this, and I always tell people you've hit gold. Good for you. Let's do it, right? But that wasn't really the case for me. I had to find the alignment, and that was part of my personal development, because at certain parts of the journey, different things aligned, but they were all leading towards the purity, and towards the simplicity and what we have, really, the natural stuff. But along the way, I was different versions of myself. So I finally got to a point where it was, this is it, I'm doing this one last time, and if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. And so I found this opportunity, and I honestly, people say what changed, I say I just decided.
Mm-hmm.
I decided, and it was that simple. I decided, and then I did it.
Right. And you know, along the way, even since you've been here, you know, I made the comment this morning, and I'm not sure whether it was on the Live at 11 or on the leaders call. I'm not sure which one, but the other day you called me in the evening, and you were very passionate, and you faced a situation that you were challenged with, and you were frustrated, and your frustration was your desire to help one of your team members. And so we were talking about that back and forth, and I keep saying that Amanda came in and said, is that Jamie? Is she upset? What's the matter? She's not mad at you, is she? And I said, no, she's not mad at me. Okay, just wanted to check. You know, she's wanting to keep me in check to make sure that I hadn't done something to upset Jamie. But we all face those situations in our business, and whether it be that little situation that was literally a team member you were trying to help, or we get our feelings hurt, or we run across struggles, I'm sure you've faced those challenges even being here. How do people, just tell them how you, and then how they can overcome those situations when they really feel like tucking their tail and quitting is how they feel?
I felt like that a few times, not gonna lie. I talk a lot about the celebrations of this past year, because I think it's so important to focus on that. That's part of my personal development. If I focus on the wins, then I just keep collecting those wins, right? But the truth is that you don't get those wins without failing first, or without getting your feelings hurt, or without, stumbling a little bit, or finding a challenge. And that's happened to me more than once this past
Mm-hmm.
year, for all different reasons. And I think there's a few things that I would say are in my toolbox. One of them is taking a step back for just a moment, and taking a breath, and asking myself, what's going on? What's going on here, and what can I really do about it? But that's a discipline. That's a discipline, to be able to stop yourself in a moment and say, what's going on? Why do I care about this? What part do I care about? What's productive? What's not? Things like that. And that's really what I find myself doing when I'm in a challenge, is getting honest with myself, taking a step back, getting honest with myself. And then the other thing I would say that's really important is reaching out to your support. It doesn't have to be your direct sponsor. It can be, a sideline that you get along with. Whatever it is, reaching out to a support system, just to be able to express how you're feeling when you're feeling super passionate or frustrated, or whatever it is. Even if it's not someone that has any is even involved in the industry, and it's just someone that you can just talk to, that will just listen, or just get you. But just being honest with yourself, and then reaching out when you need that help. And and within all of that is just constantly asking yourself questions and flipping your mindset from this is a struggle to this is an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important. And you said, you said that you cried many times and when you were struggling and trying to get yourself straight. And I know that you've learned, I'm sure, knowing your story and as much about it as I do, and I don't know your entire story, but knowing your story and working with you over the past year, one of the things that impresses me about you is you know when to take a time out. And sometimes you get very close to the edge before you take that time out, and you'll be wanting to pull your hair out, and sometimes I can recognize that and reach out with a phone call, and sometimes I recognize it a couple of days later. But talk about that a little bit, because we all face that. We all do. No matter where you are in the business, you get to the point sometimes where you just got to take a time out.
And I think that is currently my biggest growth moment, my biggest growth focus, because I do know for a fact that when I take a step back, the world keeps moving. Like that is something that I know. We don't know anything really, but I do know that. I know that the world keeps spinning, and I just have to keep telling myself that, because I could talk to people all day and help people till I'm, I fall, like till I just can't anymore, because it's not work to me, because it is something I absolutely love. So I have to keep myself really in check, which is hard, because you can be in momentum and you know what, it doesn't matter, because it's time when it's time. And something I learned through, we're talking about my story. Something I learned through my past and my story is that if I don't sit myself down, the universe will. Whatever you believe in, whatever it is you believe in will sit you down if you don't take that seat yourself.
Yep.
And I learned that the hard way. And it is something that I am always, no matter what stage in my life, constantly learning that I need to sometimes schedule it in. Sometimes I need to literally write it in my calendar, take 2 hours off. And that doesn't mean that I'm working 24 hours a day, but it means that it's very easy for me to pick up and start working, because I love it and I love what I'm doing. So I have to really separate. This is something that Rob Sperry says, invest in the extremes. And that's something that I'm learning to do now. When I'm away, I'm away. Like now I'm taking baths and I take my time. I'm really stepping away when I'm stepping away. And to be completely honest, I have to take more time off than I should, which I know isn't right, but more time off than I'd like to, because that first part of it, I'm convincing myself that it's okay. So that I can really take that actual time to rest. And I'll tell you, you're not resting if the entire time you're sitting there going, I should be doing this. I didn't do this. This is what I'm going to do next. If you're in your head the whole time, you're not giving yourself, you're not, really honoring that time for yourself. And that's what I have to remind myself of all the time.
And you said that the world continues to go. And, the reality of this business, though, is we're in the business of developing leaders, is finding those people that we can hand the baton to, because the reality of it is there'll come a time where I want to take more timeouts and longer timeouts. And when the beautiful thing about our business is, and as you're developing your leaders and your teams, and as our teams grow, we can take some timeouts. And when we go back and look at the world, i.e. the business, you go, wow, they're running without me. Some people get frustrated by that or hurt by that, but the reality of it is that is our goal.
Yeah. And it isn't easy at first. That is another thing that I developed but I had to work on personal development at some point this year when I went on my retreat. The mastermind retreat. I'm actually wearing the sweatshirt right now. That's funny. But when I had to be able to step away and trust a team member with what some of my responsibilities normally are, and be able to, and then I had to tell myself, don't check in. Don't do it, because that defeats the purpose. This is your personal development as much as it is an opportunity for them.
Yes. Yes, it is. The last thing I want to touch on, and I say last, but you never know, is this: is a lot of leaders think, or a lot of potential leaders, let's say that, a lot of people are getting ready to get ready. Now, here's what I mean by that: is they're saying, well, when I get a big office, or when I have the accolades behind me, or when I have that big desk, and
Okay, I'm back.
back. When I have an internet that doesn't cut out, when I'm going to have a setup where I'm not sitting in the floor like you are most of the time. When I do this, when I do that, when I get here, then I'm going to be a leader. And one of the things that's inspiring about you, and that impresses me so much about that, is you just you're encouraging and inspiring, and your message is coming across, and you're like, I don't care if I'm wearing a sweatshirt, it doesn't matter to me. My leadership is my voice and my message, not my surroundings. So if you would speak to that a little bit, because so many people are waiting for someday or something
Yep.
to flip their switch.
Yep. And I can definitely relate to that, because I used to have that feeling of like, I'm waiting for the mentor that I want. I'm waiting for, the opportunity that I want, the team that this, and that. I'm waiting for it to be this. I'm waiting to learn more before I talk about it. I'm waiting to do this. I'm waiting to see, more like, well, where can I go before I show somebody else where they can go? All of that stuff that we're waiting on, there's absolutely no way to make it happen without just doing it. There's absolutely no way to make all of that happen without just doing the things, right? So I think at one point I just told myself, be the leader that you always wish you had.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put something out into the universe, I'm telling you, it will challenge you. It will show you that this is an opportunity and you can have what you want, but this is what you have to go through to have that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I invited, challenges into my life by saying that, but that is also what develops me as a leader. Mm-hmm. Being able to recognize those moments as opportunity instead of letting it just completely crush me. So I tell myself all the time, and I tell, other people who I talk to in this industry about the same exact thing. Whenever they go towards, well, this person didn't do that, this person, they said they didn't say, they weren't, whatever, none of that matters. Be the leader to other people that you wish you had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a powerful statement, because we early on before the call launched live, I said, there are people out there who think they're leaders, but if they look behind them, they're just out for a walk because nobody's following them. And there's accidental leaders and there's intentional leaders. Accidental leaders find themselves in a leadership position, and when placed in command, you just have to take charge and run with it and learn as you go. I love the statement that Jim Rohn said: if you go out and win the lottery, you better quickly become a millionaire in your mind, or you'll lose it all. You'll lose it all. And I've experienced that personally. But sometimes, and so you're not an accidental leader; you're an intentional leader. And so you didn't accidentally fall in this team. You were part of a group, and you said, I'm gonna do my thing, and I'm gonna create my team, and I'm gonna build this. And you were looking for the support, and when you got that support and that encouragement, you with intention, you went out and made it happen. And I think a lot of people, Jamie, as you said, you said in your thing, you said development and self-improvement is doing the work. Not just watching the videos, not just listening to the books, not just whatever it is. You went to a breakthrough opportunity, and a lot of people go there and listen and leave, and they get so motivated and fired up, but they come back and they sit down and they go, okay, so now let me get ready. And they don't implement what they had. So
that was my biggest fear at my first one.
Yep.
That is literally what my fear was. And I had that story in my head when I showed up. This might not help me. I might not have a major breakthrough. And then I said, no, this is what I'm here for. And I'm going to have a major breakthrough. And it doesn't have to be today. It doesn't have to be the day I get home, but I'm going to have a breakthrough because that's what I'm here for. And
Yeah.
that's what happened. The universe again challenged me, told me like, guess what? This is what you want. Well, here. And that's when my last company just disappeared. And it challenged me to truly have my breakthrough. But I when you were saying that, I was just like, yeah, that was what was in my head. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And, with you said success is in the implementing it in your life and in your business.
Yeah.
So I know that you and I talk a lot about other things, not just the business, but what's going on in your life and the challenges that you face, and the fact that when you decide to be a leader, be careful, because you're a leader not just for your team and in your business and
Life.
for the company, but people recognize that you've become a leader. And so you've had some struggles with that. I don't want to say struggles with the leadership aspect of it, but boy, you've had a lot dumped on your lap in the last year.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true, because where the way something, I'm sure you've heard this, the way one thing is in life, in your life, all things are in your life. And it's true. And I think it does come across in a different way, because people see that confidence and they want to talk to people. They want to be around people. They want answers from people who are confident and who know what they know, right? And have a good sense of self-worth, which is something that I never had. So that's one of the things that people are recognizing now. But I do have to translate, if I want my business to be better, like I'm saying, you have to personally develop yourself. That's the other aspect, is developing your life around it. Because I can't be the person that I was with my family, but be the person that I am with my business. I have to be the person that I am everywhere in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
so, for me, I don't see my family all the time. So I develop a lot as a person the few months between when I see them, especially this past year. I've literally been a different person the last 3 times that I've gone to visit my family. But it came really with implementing communication that I learned in business, boundaries that I learned in business, all of these things, and being able to hold that without feeling like it's pressure or obligation, but being able to hold that because there's people on the other side that if I can hold space for the people in business and meet them where they're at, then I need to implement that into my life, which can be so much harder with personal relationships. It can be, but if you can just translate and implement what you're doing in business or just personally into those types of relationships, and that's really what I've done, it has been slightly easier each time that I've returned and been around, just slightly. And I'll tell you, it's not just me, because when I return, everybody else is slightly different. The way we communicate, the way that we are around each other, and that comes with me developing and holding that space each time. And not everybody's going to develop at the same rate as you, but you can't, not be the person that you are and go back to old ways and things. And that's something that I always have to remind myself, that I am still the person that I am right now, even when I'm in situations with people who might not be growing with me, or in situations that remind me of my past or anything like that, which is one of the biggest struggles with personal development, is that it doesn't stop and it will keep coming and it will remind you in different ways, but you are stronger and better each time to be able to handle it.
Yeah, that's such a strong message. People like to say, fake it till you make it. And I don't believe in that, because although sometimes we question and doubt that we're true leaders, But if you're faking it, that means that you're not consistently doing it every single time. And I remember it's been a year ago when you said, "Hey, and you called me up and your voice inflection." I was like, "What's wrong?" You went, "Well, I got to go visit my family." And you were concerned about that because you knew that you were walking into an environment that didn't feed you what the enthusiasm and the positivity that you needed. And when you came back, you said, "Well, I'm back and I'm ready to roll." But the last time you were up there and I didn't even know you were up there, and your voice inflection, you were that leader, you were just running with it. And it's just doing it. It's just making that commitment to yourself and saying, those who want to follow me, great. And those who don't, that's great too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is something for personal development. The biggest thing I think that most people don't realize that they need to work on, because I didn't realize it for the longest time either, is that abundance. Not being in the scarcity mindset, but being in that abundant mindset. And that comes in so many different ways. But if you can just look at it like that and just keep shifting those perspectives, nothing's ever as bad as we make it.
Yeah,
Never.
that's right. That's so true. That's so true. So you've gotten, I've been watching on the Facebook over here too. You've got tons and tons of hearts. I love that when I see those popping up on the screen. Yep. Some great comments. And so the last thing I would say is this is just, if somebody, and there's people on here right now that are looking at you, Jamy, and they're saying, "Golly, I want to have the year." We're just finished the first quarter. Today's the last day of the first quarter of the year, and you were putting on your running shoes this time last year, and you were getting your team running. And so there are people that are saying, "I want to have the kind of year that Jamy had in 2020. I want to have that remain in 2021. And I know that you are not satisfied with where you are, and you've got bigger goals that you're achieving, that you're after and inspiring for, because we talk about it a lot. But if you were going to say, okay, here's one piece of advice that for those listening that want to have that breakthrough year. I love your shirt. I mean, that breakout year, that breakthrough year, whatever you want to call it. This is going to be my year. What would be, and it doesn't have to be just one, but advice would you give them?
I would first say, decide that. Whatever things are coming into your mind right now, when I say decide that and you say, okay, I've decided, whatever comes to your mind, doesn't matter. All of that will present itself along the way. You don't have to worry about it all right now, because it's going to come up at some point, but you're choosing that. When you decide, you're choosing that personal development. You're choosing those struggles that are going to come along with it. So I say just decide, take that good with the bad, right? But my biggest thing I would say that I've done this past year is consistency was never my thing, but that's because the meaning that I gave consistency was different than what felt good to me. So now consistency looks a little different for me, but I would say that to be consistent, you have to decide what your minimum is. If you don't have a minimum, which means this is the action I'm going to do in my business on my worst day, when the world is literally crumbling around you and you are the only space left, you're still going to do your work. Like, you have to decide on a minimum, have to commit to it, and then show up with that. And I don't want to say every day, because daily method of operation is huge, and a lot of people need that for consistency, and it did help me build up to where I am. But I do a weekly method of operations because it works better for me. But what I do is I hit minimums. Like, I write down the night before, this is my minimum for tomorrow, and I will not go to bed until I do those 2, 3, 4, 5 things, whatever, how many things I wrote down. So find a minimum and commit to hitting that minimum every day or 5 times a week, whatever it is that you can realistically be realistic with yourself. What can you realistically commit to, where you're giving your full attention, and find that minimum and commit to it.
Yeah, that's such a great message. And I love what you said too, is that this is what works for me. And, everybody has to do them and what works best for them.
Right.
And that's so important. But the income producing activities, that's where the minimums come in. and you go, this is the system that I follow, or this is what I like to do, but these are the minimum that I'm going to do. And so no matter what method or system that you use, you still have to have those minimums and hit them every day. I think
you still have to do it. Whatever your system is, however you run your business, whatever you choose, you still have to do that. You can't just say, this is the way I want my business to be. You have to do that.
That's so true. That's so true. Well, Jamy, thanks for joining us. We've got some, I know you can't see the comments, but you're an inspiration, Jamy. Most powerful message I've heard in a while. I used to fake it, but I'm trying to be genuine now. Yay, Jamy, breaking through. Proud of you. I want to be the leaders. I want to be a leader like the ones I have. Yes, absolutely. Some just great comments. And I really appreciate everybody sharing the love and sharing these comments. And let me say this, if this message resonated with you, the message that you're putting out here tells me that, make sure you tag somebody in this and say, hey, this is something you need to watch, because there's people that need to hear this and need to hear that message, and it's because it is inspiring and it's encouraging, and it lets people hear the message that, what, you might have struggled your first 5 years, but you can have a breakthrough year in year 6, year 5. Sometimes it might take longer, but if you're committed and you're like Jamy is, and you say, this is my year and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to hit those minimums every day, it can happen for you too. So Jamy, thanks for sharing your message and being brave enough to, and I don't know that it's bravery anymore. I think it's natural. I think
it's becoming that way.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all of this, and for everybody who is watching. Just, go out there and implement something. That's just that would be my biggest challenge for everybody. And I love you all, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you.